Hello student, in this video we will see the reactivity series. In this series we will let you know that which metal can displace the other metal. It is the list of the metal arranged in the decreasing order of a reactivity, and this series that is known as a reactivity series. Here you can see at the first, that is a potassium. If you go further, means if you go from the potassium to the gold, then the reactivity of the metal, it is a decrease. Or here you can see the most reactive, and at the last you can see the least reactivity. Means the reactivity is decreased from the top to bottom. This series is denoted that which metal is more reactive and which metal is a low reactive. Let's take one example. If the two metals are given, that is of magnesium and the aluminium. So here in the reactivity series, you can see that the magnesium, it is a most reactive, or you can say the more reactive metal than the aluminium. So this magnesium are able to displace the aluminium, but aluminium cannot replace the magnesium. Means the whatever the metal are given to you, but which metal it is a more reactive, that metal only can displace the least reactive. As we see that in the one activity, that iron and the copper sulfate solution, we are keep the iron nail into the copper sulfate. Here you can see in the figure that the iron, which is a high reactive than the copper. So the iron nail means the iron that can displace the copper from the copper sulfate. So who can displace the copper? Whatever the metal which is above to the copper, this all matter can replace, or you can say the displace the copper, because it is a most reactive than the Cu. Which are the metal which is which cannot be displaced by the any metal? Then it is a potassium, because it's a most reactive metal. Suppose one iron, who can displace the iron? Then above the iron, whatever the metals are there, that is a potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, they can displace. So this is the reactivity series. In the chapter, the next concept, that is of reaction of the metal with the non-metal. How the metal can react with the non-metal. Before we start this topic, we understand something, that is of reactivity of element. It is a tendency to attain a completely filled valence shell. Whatever if it is a matter or non-matter, it both are possess the tendency to attain a complete filled valence shell. Let's take an example, that is of sodium. As we know that the sodium, it's contain the 11 atomic number. So how it is arranged? This electron is arranged in the 2, 8 and the 1. So for the first orbit, the 2 electron are arranged. In the second cell, the 8 electron are arranged. And at the third cell, only 1 is there. So the electronic configuration, that is of 2, 8, 1. So what do that sodium? This sodium is lose 1 electron from their valence orbit and get the positive charge. So and that is of contain the Na plus. Whatever the last cell, the tendency to complete that valence cell. For the completion of the valence cell, it is required total 8, means, but we have for the sodium 1 is there. So it can take the 7, and the another option, that is of it can lose the 1 electron. So which is the better option? So the second option is better. So the sodium is lose the 1 electron. So it gets the Na plus. So it's a electronic configuration that is of 2, 8. When it is a form, ion form means the Na plus. So all the metals and the non-metals are getting plus, positive or the negative charge accordingly. So we can say that the metal loses the electron from their valence shell to form a cation, and the non-metal gain an electron in their valence shell to form anion. Metal lose electron from their valence shell to form cation. Here you can see the sodium is a metal. So the sodium is lose the one electron. So it is a form of cation because it is lose the one electron. So it is Na positive. Na positive. Now for the non-metal, it is gain the electron in their valence shell to form an ion. Let's take one example. For example, non-metal that is of chlorine. The chlorine's atomic number that is of 17. So it is arranged like 2, 8, 7. So it is get 1 electron. So it get the Cl minus. It is bring 1 electron from any other element. So it get the Cl minus. This negative sign that is denoted that it is bring 1, or you can say the gain 1 electron from their valence shell. And due to that it possesses an ion. And due to this cation and the anion, the metal and the non-metals both are react with each other. So, the compound formed by the transfer of electron from the metal to non-metal, then it is called as an ionic compound. Or other hand, you can say that the electrovalent compound. Whenever any metal which is react with the non-metal by the transferring of the electron, and due to that the compound is formed, that is known as the ionic compound, or you can say the electron valent compound. Let's take one example how the metal and non-metals react with each other. As we see, now let's take one example by which you can easily understand. Now we will see the formation of the NaCl, that is of sodium chloride. As we see that the NaCl, the Na contain the configuration 281, whereas the Cl contain the electronic configuration 287. The Na means the sodium and the chlorine, the Cl means chlorine. So what happened? This Na lose one electron, and both the Na and Cl both the contain the valence electron 1. Valence means the last cell contain the how many electron that. So in the chlorine valence cell you can see the 7 electron is there, and for the sodium the 1 electron is there. So how this ionic compound is formed? Here what happened, this sodium electron, that valence cell, you need to complete its valence cell. So what it do, that Na is lose 1 electron and it is given to the chlorine. Here you can see the 1 electron is passed to the chlorine. Whatever the electron is given, that element always be positive. So if we convert this Na into the Na plus, then it is converted into the 2, 8. It contains the 2,8 configuration because it is lose one electron. Due to the losing, it contains the positive charge. While in the chlorine, as we know that the chlorine contains the configuration 287, and this electron that is loosened by the sodium, that is gained by the chlorine. So it get the configuration 288, that is of chlorine minus, because it gained the one electron. That's why we denoted as a Cl minus. And it is a negative charge because it's a gain one electron from the sodium. That's why. Now let's see the another example, that is of aluminium chloride. The Al means it contains the configuration 282, while the chlorine that is of 287. At the outer shell, or you can say the valence shell, the aluminium contains the 2 electron, while the chlorine contains the 7 electron in their outer orbit. But here you can see the 2 chlorine is there. So we have to also draw other chlorine. Here from the aluminium, 1 electron is given to the 1 chlorine, and the another chlorine that is also gained the 1 electron from the aluminium, because here you can see the aluminium causes the 2 electron at the outer orbit. So this outer orbit 1 electron is given to the one other chlorine. So both the aluminium as well as the chlorine both get the complete configuration. So the aluminium, it's lose the 2 electron, that's why it get the positive charge, means the Al plus 2, and the 2 electron which is a release, or you can say the lose the 2 electron. This 2 electron which is used by the chlorine. Here this 2 electron which is gained by the chlorine. So it possesses the Cl minus. This is for the one chlorine. Same like for the other chlorine, same processes occur. Now the next point of this chapter, that is of properties of an ionic compound. First property of the ionic compound, that is of a physical nature. The first one, that is they are a solid and hard, and generally it is a brittle. It is a hard because the ionic compound which is a very solid and the ionic, and it is also generally brittle. The second property of the ionic compound, that is of melting and the boiling point. They have a high melting point and boiling point. As we see that the ionic compound, it is a hard. So due to that they have a high melting point and the boiling point. The third one, that is of a solubility, means it is a soluble or not. So the soluble, it is a soluble in water. As we know that the NaCl, that is soluble in the water but not in a kerosene and the petrol. The last, that is of a conduction of the electricity. So they conduct the electricity in the molten state and the solution from, but not in a solid state. As we see that for the passing of the electricity, ion form is necessary. So in the molten state we can get. So it can conduct the electricity, but in the solid state there is a no free ion. That's why it is not able to conduct the electricity. If asked that the solid form of the NaCl can conduct the electricity, then the answer is a no, because it is in solid state. So it is not possible to pass electricity. Now the next one, that is of occurrence of the metals. How the metals, that is found in the naturally. So the first one, that is of a minerals. The minerals means the element or a compound which occur naturally in the earth crust. Earth crust means the outer layer of the crust, that we consider as a minerals. The ores means the minerals that contains a very high percentage of a particular metal, and the metal can be profitably extracted from it, such as minerals are called the ores. Means the impure minerals that you consider as a ore. In that you can get the high percentage of a particular matter. So that we consider as a ore. Now the next one, that is of gangue, that is of ore, are usually contaminated with a large amount of impurities such as soil, sand, etc. are called the gangue. Gangue means the ores are usually contaminated with a large amount of the impurities such as a soil, sand. Then we consider as a gangue, that impurities which we do not require. As we know that whatever we get from the earth surface, then it is along with its impurities. So we consider it as a gangue. Now let's see the extraction of the metals from its ore. So for that, mainly 3 steps are included by which we can do the extraction of the metal from the ores. For that, the first step, that is of enrichment of the ore. As we see that in the first step, the ore which contain the impurities. So first of all, what we do, we are remove the impurities from the ore. So by which we can enrich the ore, means in that we can get the maximum percentage of the particular metal. Then second one, that is of the extraction of the metals. After the ore, we can get the maximum concentration of the ore. That ore we extract from the metal. And then after extracting, we are doing the refining of that particular metal. Now let's see in detail the first step, that is of enrichment of the ore. It is the process of removing a gangue from the ore, that we consider as a enrichment of ore. So we can get the maximum concentration of the particular matter. We get it as a form of gangue. So we have to remove it and contain the ores. How can we do that? There are some methods are given. These techniques method are used in this process. First one, that is hydraulic washing, magnetic separation, fourth flotation, chemical separation, and leaching. So these are the process by which we can easily remove the impurities along from the ore. Now let's see the first process, that is of a hydraulic washing. Hydraulic washing, which is mainly based on work on the gravity separation. So in this process, first of all we do the crushed ore. Then after we wash that ore with the water stream. If an ore is denser than the gangue, then the gangue particles are washed away with the water stream, and whatever the heavy material is remain, or you can say the heavy ore is remain, which is we are used further. Let's take one example of the ore, that is of tin and the lead, which is also used for the gold refined. What we are doing this process, in this process, first of all we crush the ore, then after we wash this ore with the water stream, and whatever the ore is denser than the gangue, that that is heavy in nature, so that is a remain behind, but whatever the light one, that is washed away with the water stream. So for that we require one stop table. In that, according to density, it will separate it out. Here you can see in the figure. So at the last we get the separation of the ore and the gangue. And due to the force of the water, whatever the we collect in this beaker, that is of gangue, and the heavier material that is remain, that is a form of a ore. So example of the ores, that is of uh, tin, lead, and it is also used in gold refining. So by the hydraulic washing we can do the refining or do the extraction of the ore from its gangue. The second process, that is of a magnetic separation. This method works on a magnetic principle. That's why it is known as a magnetic separation. This method is applied when the ore, or you can say the gangue particles, have a different magnetic property. Then we can use this separation, means the magnetic separation process. This process is mainly work on the that principle, or you can say the magnetic principle, so that can be easily attract to the metal, or you can say the attract by the magnet, so by which we can easily separate it out. For example of the ores, that is of magnetite, chromite, and the manganese. What we do in this process, first of all we crush this ore, and then after we are passing through this magnetic field, or you can say the magnetic plate like structure. So whatever the magnetic particles are there, that is attract by the magnet, so it is a separate nearby that magnet, and whatever the material which is not attracted by the magnet, that is separate little far away. So by this method you can easily separate it out, the ore and the gangue particles, but the principle, that is of a must work on the magnetic principle. If they both have a, from both the ore and the gangue particles have a different magnetic properties, then now the next process, that is of a fourth flotation, and it is a process for separating a hydrophobic and the hydrophilic material. Hydrophobic means it cannot water lovable. It cannot mix with the water. And the hydrophilic means it is water level. It is mixed with the water. So generally this process is used for the sulfide ores. For example, the ZNS means the zinc sulfide, CuS means the copper sulfide, etc. Now let's see in the figure by which you can easily understand. As we have that in the ore, we have a mixture of the copper and the sulfide. And whatever the ore that we crushed, and we are adding some pine oil and the water in it. So the gangue which is dissolved in the water, but the ore which is suspended on the water. So these ore particles, it is a stick with the pine oil, and by which we can easily separate it out the ore and the gangue. And after the pine oil stick this ore with the pine oil, we enter the air forcefully. So the forming is produced, and this forming contain the ore. So by which we can easily separate it out the ore and the gangue. Here you can see in the form you get the or, and in the water you can get the gang. Now the next point that is of a chemical refining, or you can say the leaching process. So in this process the ore are soluble and the gang are insoluble. So the leaching is done in the pressure cylindrical vessels. So the ore is converted into the metal salt. Let's take one example by which you can easily understand. That is of a ZnS, means the zinc sulfate, which is react with the oxygen and the hydro or you can say the sulfuric acid. Then it is converted into the ZnSO4, means the zinc sulfate. Along with it, water is there and the sulfur gas is released. So we get the ZnSO4, that is of a ore, or you can say we get the ore as a form of a metal salt. Here you can see the ZnSO4 means the zinc sulfate, which is the ore, or which is the metal salt of the ore, you can say. And along with the salt we get the water and a sulfur gas. And further from the salt we can extract the zinc metal. Now we will see how can we extract a metal, by which method. So the first, these metals are a non-reactive, means the least reactive metal. Then the oxidize of this metal can be reduced by the heating. So let's see the first one, that is of Hg, means the mercury, which is extracted from the Cinnabar. What is the meaning of Cinnabar? What is the formula of Cinnabar? Then you can write down the Hg as, that is known as a Cinnabar. And if asked that what is the function of the HGS, means the Cinnabar, then you can write down that the Cinnabar is useful for the extraction of the mercury. Here you can see the mercury sulfide, means the HGS, which is react with the oxygen. Then we get the HGO, means the mercury oxide. And along with that the sulfur dioxide is produced. Now we get the oxide form of the particular metal, that is of HgO. So we do the further reaction of the HgO, and finally we get the Hg plus O2. Hg means the mercury. Now we get the pure form of the Hg, means the mercury. Now similarly the another example let's take, that is of a copper sulfate, that is of copper sulfide, can be obtained. The copper sulfide, that is of react with the oxygen, so we get the cuprous oxide. Along with that the sulfur dioxide is liberated, and this oxide form that we are using, or you can say the metal oxide Cu2O, which is react with the cuprous sulfide Cu2S, and then we can finally extract the Cu, that is along with the oxygen that we get. Thank you.